questions of agriculture, water, biofuels, health, and that is that the generic approach is really a non-starter. Everybody has emphasized the importance of locally appropriate solutions. Right. And I think that links back directly to Ellis's questions about the role of the universities. Right. And the importance of investment in growing local university capacity for local knowledge and doing it through twinning with other universities is one very appropriate approach. That twinning need not be north-south, it might be south-south twinning. But the importance of having active involvement of scientists in the region, both social and natural scientists and technologists in the region, to help with that local generation of knowledge and local tailoring, I think is a really key point.
Well, that you brought up, Jennifer, and I thank you for it, Jane, because exactly what you've been saying also in the health area, the involvement locally. I will leave to the three of you to make one, each of you one response or a message, taking into account maybe the questions that are remaining on cold storage, on BioSquare, networking partnerships, if you have any thoughts on that. Joanna, do you want to begin?
Yes, and I would like to add to what Jane said, that it is actually only the academic institutions that are equipped with expertise in all these fields we are addressing. And one of the problems is that there are not too many academic institutions that are really doing interdisciplinary work and more applied research. But the ones that are doing, and that are already doing it in Africa or in India or in South Asia, the institutions that come from US or Europe should really think about how to transfer that knowledge and how to work more closely with those local universities and involving them in problem solving and how to actually expand build capacity, local capacity. When it comes to partnerships, I think that even in the partnerships between the academic institutions, the private sector plays a very important role. We have a lot of collaborations, research collaborations between private sector and academic institutions, between pharmaceutical industry, I think chemical industry. Where do they get their expertise? From universities. There is room for public-private partnerships. There is room for expanding the existing public-private partnerships. I would also want to stress that we need to leverage all the resources we have right now. We need to do it in an integrated way to really have impact. And that will be a way to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. Well, we need to seek support of the local governments.
Well, let's ask one of our partners from industry what he thinks on that. And if you have any message you want to bring, Andrea, before I close with Peter.
Well, if I see as a common denominator, if I can use that I mean applies also to our what we said, the higher level of debate, the higher level of scrutiny means also a higher level of transparency of what we are doing. Because the more we are transparent in the different sectors, the more we can make the public, the society understanding. And of course in the understanding and in the dialogue there is also the way of capturing and isolating the mistakes, the errors, the things that need to be fixed. But again, doesn't polarize the discussion, is productive. The second element is, sometimes can we discuss a bit less and start to do things? I mean, and specifically in the scientific, I was involved in this cellular therapy, came from the biotech environment, so we are always on the edge. Sometimes it's also to say it's important to have an higher debate, an higher scrutiny, but let's keep kind of a more shifting horizon in terms that we do something, then we discuss, then we do something, and we are able also maybe to deliver and not just to remain stuck in discussing without actually delivering in nothing.
Peter?
A couple of specifics. Firstly, Alice's point about the universities. Of course, many of the African universities are set up from Europe in the first place and have very strong interactions and continuing ties. So that's been a long-term process. Also, the new online learning type mechanisms and so are going to impact in the developing world just as they are in the developed world. University of Phoenix, for instance, which has a lot of university presidents very worried, I think. The point about encapsulating vaccines, I don't know of research going on in that area, but with a live virus, for instance, what one needs is simply to prevent degradation of the protein and the nucleic acid. And if there are technologies for doing that, and I'm sure there's work going on in that area, that will be one way of getting around it. So maybe there is some good prospect there. I think, as I'm the last to say.
I think we're out of time. Yes.
We're out of time.
But
well,
Tracy, Jane wants to make a very short intervention afterwards. So.
Yeah. Well, I think what we've talked about in some things has a moral dimension, a major moral dimension. I don't think delivering vaccines has a tremendous moral dimension. We all agree that they're good things. When we come to stem cell therapy, of course, we get into very profound moral arguments. But I would say, and another point that's been made to me is, BioVision is a marvellous organisation. It's doing great things. But what does it actually achieve in the end analysis? And I think the great moral issue is the one that Jennifer just identified. And that is these restrictions and hypocrisies with regard to international trade that are limiting capacity in the developing world. And we need to remove those, and if BioVision, through its presence in Europe, can help to bring some moral pressure to bear, that would be an enormous advance.
Very 20 seconds, Jane, do you have anything?
Yes, this BioVision is about the Millennium Development Goals, and I think there's an overarching theme that is linked through all of the discussion groups, and that is the interdependence of those Millennium Development Goals and the importance of addressing them holistically and simultaneously, not just sequentially. And there are real trade-offs, but there are also huge synergies across those Millennium Development Goals. It's crystal clear from these conversations that we have current existing knowledge to be able to achieve many of the MDGs. What's been lacking is political will and the importance of communicating to the world the urgency of some of what we've heard, the existence of solutions, what we heard from the children about the urgency and their hopes for the future. I think we all need to take to heart and really move ahead in making significant progress in addressing these.
Thank you very much, Jane, for bringing that. That is